Good evening. My name is Carrie V. Dean, and this is another episode of A Dullard Speaking. Tonight, I'm just going to explore all the memes and all the MAGA world versions of what happened to Charlie Kirk. You can say as much as you will about Mr. Kirk, bad or good. The one thing that he did do was get Americans to come to the table with their voices. Whatever his perspective was, or his speaking points, whether you were, like myself, opposed to him or not, it is never a good thing when people cheer for someone's death. Cheering for someone to catch a bullet, or praying for someone to catch a bullet, rather, it's just a terrible, terrible thing. But that said, it happened. And it was inevitable to happen for a number of reasons. But the main reason here is the fact that you had such a public political figure who put a target on his own back with his political views, knowing how many lunatics there are in the world that will not use their voice due to the fact that they don't feel that they'll ever be heard. They're the quiet people, the ones that walk around in shadows. You never know what's gonna hit you until it does. Those kind of people, the quiet ones that never speak out, never say anything too far out of societal perspective, kind of go along with the flow. Well, those are the people that you really should be afraid of. Those are the people that never really truly vote one way or the other. Those are the people that repress their anger. And repressed anger turns into total hate. And total hatred can fuel a lot of bad decisions and a lot of bad actions once that person explodes. What happened to Charlie Kirk is nothing new. So for everyone to all of a sudden go crazy and, well, he was hated anyway, or, well, he was speaking the truth, and all this noise. The only one man that ever spoke truth in this world was the Son of God. So all you so-called good Christian folks that are throwing up the memes with Charlie Kirk being akin to Jesus should be ashamed of yourself. To include Martin Luther King in the same photo with Charlie Kirk, you should be ashamed of yourself. You want to make Charlie Kirk a martyr? Make him a martyr. I have nothing against that. But when you put him in the frame with true truth sayers and say that he was this great guy and this martyr of a person that just got slaughtered over his viewpoints. Yes, he got slaughtered over his viewpoints. We can all agree on that. But let's look at some factors that led up to that. Approximately a month ago, Charlie had already broken protocol with Trumpsters when he went against President Trump. To tell his true viewpoint on the Epstein file situation. If anyone had viewed that, anyone viewing that live podcast of him having the debate with an audience full of MAGAs, mostly. So there was very little opposition to what he was saying. But when he got to the part about the Epstein files, the crowd sort of split itself live on the air. Because I think most of the ones that still have some common sense among themselves were like, hey, Charlie, you want to tone it down, buddy. Trump listening to you. You know? And the look on Kirk's face when the cameras panned back to him after being admonished on inciting the crowd again on the Epstein stuff, he looked like he had seen a ghost and it had come for him already. Yeah, he looked like he's seen the boogeyman already sitting in that audience. Immediately, not more than 24 hours, maybe a little over, about 28 hours after he had made some very disparaging statements about the Epstein files not being released. I believe there was a direct phone call to him explaining why, if he was a Trump supporter, he's a Trump supporter, and he shuts his mouth about his true feelings. This didn't sit well, Mr. Kurt, even though he apologized to Trump. And Trump's not one to let go of a grudge. So let's look at it from the perspective of he's a highly targeted political figure among the MAGAs and Trump sphere. Used to travel with lots of security. Always had enough security available to him. So he didn't have to feel unsafe wherever he was speaking. Whether it was in what he called unfriendly territory, being mostly comprised of Democrats and free thinkers and the likes, the freaks as he would call them, or he was in a mixed crowd, or when he was in a friendly crowd, he had the same confidence as he spoke because he knew he had Trump's backing and security was good. Well, this last time he decided to speak in public, well, he already knew he wouldn't have the security there. He already knew he was a high political figure speaking in a very low secured place in public on a college campus. Now, why would he do that, knowing that the security wasn't there? That's the question. And for all the Republicans that came out afterwards from underneath whatever rock or hole they had crawled out of, to start immediately blaming Democrats for his death, radical left for his death, all the people that didn't like him for his death. What did he or any of you that are throwing out all that stupid crap do to make sure he was secure speaking in public like that, being such a highly public figure with a very strong opposite opinion to most of the nation? Think about that. While you're out here wanting to unlive people that didn't like Mr. Kirk. I didn't like him, but I still prayed for his soul. I didn't hate him. I was just indifferent to his viewpoint. Because some of what Mr. Kirk said did hit a keynote with every American at some point. Because we all grew up in the same systemic hate. So white men are crying about the blacks always cry and whine and get their way. No, we don't. It's been all you white men in government offices making the decisions on whether or not to give us what little bit of grace and dignity you've allowed us to this far. And even then, it wasn't much. So to now try to spin a narrative back onto black folks and other minorities and left-wing radical lunatics, it's just so mentally unstable. It infringing upon freedom of speech, actually hijacking freedom of speech, that I've lived through in my 60 years on this earth. It's incredible how true masks slip in place from all sides when something like this happens. Because not one single solitary politician has just stood up and had the quiet grace to say, we condemn this action of violence. And why couldn't they? Because our government has yet to deal with their in-house backbiting and fighting to gain power. So don't blame the left and don't blame the right and don't blame this, that, and the other. Let's tell the truth. This man's death, because he was a highly regarded political figure, whether you hated him, liked him, or agreed with him, or disagreed with him, doesn't matter. What matters here is the situation that occurred didn't have to be there. If Congress could just come together for once and write some legislation that makes sense about owning a gun. Again, guns don't kill people. People kill people using guns. Which brings us back to not taking care of the mentally ill that are turned into the streets. With no place to go, unable to get a job, because they're deemed mentally unstable. And say, well, they won't take their medicines. Well, in some cases, it's hard to take your medicines and keep your medicine steady when you have no address, no cell phone, nothing in by way of which to be contacted about your medications and when they're refilled. And no one's bothered to get that information and seek these people out and get them their medications. Half the time after these VA hospitals turn and release the mentally unstable veterans back out into the streets, after that, it's a matter of, well, it's their responsibility to come back in here. Let's see. So you're relying on the mentally unstable person to make a decision about their health and taking medications. This makes perfectly logical sense from the standpoint of not having to deal with the monster in the room. That's with the government broke them. Now they come back broken. Now you toss them aside because they're no more use to the government. They're losers, as Trump has stated. Okay? Some of the other mentally ill people, you've had children with hypertension problems, autism, other mental issues like bipolarism, you name it. Things when I was growing up, it was called you get your butt beat and stood in the corner. You start to learn the lesson that maybe I shouldn't act that certain way, or maybe I shouldn't do that, is what most people would say. Yeah, I was one of those kids that used to get beat all the time because I was a very hyper person. I was always twitching, fidgeting, moving, doing something. Couldn't sit still. Anxious. Most of that, for me, was growing up having to constantly be reminded that don't get too comfortable, girl, because your people still were slaves in this country. Yeah. How many of you repressed white people that are now turning the tables on the black people? What tables? It's still the same old crap. You hold all the cards. We're still just begging for a chance to not even get to the table, but get bigger parts of scraps. Okay? Be given a chance to have a real opportunity in America. But no, We're just bringing up the racist angle again so we can get a job. I shouldn't have to bring up a racist angle to get a job. It's the point. That's why DEI was wrong. It's because it was based from a white man's perspective, thinking they were fixing the racism problem. So stop blaming black people for that. White people keep making these dumb ass decisions and then blaming the very people that they made the decisions to try to help out. Well, stop trying to help us. Either give help, give real encouragement, give real education, or don't. But don't keep trying to put us as the villains when everything that's happening in our culture is because of some dumbass decisions white people played with each other to get the upper hand on each other. That's all we ask. What does all this have to do with Charlie Kirk's death? It's the same thing. Stop trying to find somebody to blame his death on and look in the freaking mirrors. Everybody in Washington, look in the freaking mirrors at yourselves. You caused that. You created that situation. You allowed that situation to happen. So stop blaming the rest of Americans for your screw-ups. Period. We're tired of it. You can only gaslight so much before you get a revulsion. And that's what's occurring now. We're tired of it. Now you're trying to use this Kirk killing to take away our freedom of speech. Screw you. We are tired of listening to blah, 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 and who's this and who's that and who's that without any facts, without any backup, but because Trump said. We're tired of that crap. Either call the liar out for the liar that he is and leave us out of it, or allow the liar to keep lying and you keep believing, and come elections, we get him out. But enough of the stupid crap. The rest of us in the world are tired and sick and tired of Donald Trump throwing out what I will call clickbait. Okay? You want to call everybody else dumb and stupid and you're the smartest guy in the room and that's why smart people don't like you? No. Smart people don't like you, Donald, because you're ignorant as hell. You look in the mirror every day and you see the opportunity of white men and what the white man potential is as far as financials go, and that's the end of it. And the people that are supporting you, you've raised a nation of people that have no self-awareness, have no concept of self-awareness. You can project your mental problems on everybody else, but you have no self-awareness. You have no common sense. Why do you think the white man's civilizations that they've set up toppled all the civilizations that Africans set up? Why do you think that after doing that, and so many years of you doing that, and killing off the very people that were keeping you with food on your tables, money in your pockets. All of a sudden, your society crash. Think about it. Every white male run authoritarian style systems have failed. You know, everybody says, well, Idi Amin's authoritarian. Yes, because he was following in the footsteps of growing up in an already white dominant autocracy. That's right. This is the white man's legacy all around the world. All these little fiefdoms all over the world. Pockets of people jumping up and ruling over their countries and all this other stuff. That was the white man's gift all over the world. Everywhere the white man traveled to, he put his stitch. So, don't talk to us about white man's moral and white man's superiority over all other races. Don't give us that bull crap. Because white man's supremacy is why we're in the mess we're in now. With next to no allies left to draw upon, and losing respect to the point that nicer Asian cultured people are pulling their businesses out of America. And if they haven't, they're strongly thinking about it. Okay? You got Germany strongly thinking about not doing any more business with America for Volkswagen. Okay? And hey, come on, you can't get more whiter than that. Germany. And the EU has had it with him after the mess he made of the Russia-Ukraine war. They're not waiting anymore, President Trump. They're not going to wait on you anymore. They're doing their own thing. So I say to you, sir, wake up. Stop the stupidity. You say you're a smart guy, act smart for once in your life. Stop the stupidity. You've already ruined America. Stop trying to cover up the fact that you've ruined America. Okay? And for those of you that are in Congress now and running for offices again, I'm sorry, but I have a feeling come midterms, what you're trying to do to the Democrats, it's going to be strongly reversed. And if Trump decides to do what I think he's planning on doing and not have elections, that's going to be a sorry day for you, sir. A very sorry day for you. So, my MAGA people, please tone down the rhetoric. Please tone down the slanderous statements. Please catch a clue other than hate. Okay? Your hate is going to destroy not so much this country, but destroy what you believe you're fighting for. Because people chasing money is just that. People chasing money. You've lost your soul. You've lost your way. I'll tell you, as you've been telling everyone else, you need to read the Bible and actually not only hear the words, but listen deeply with your soul, not your mind, not your heart, your soul. Because it is definitely lacking. On that note, have a good night. If you wish to comment back, thank you. And have a lovely, lovely tomorrow. This has been Carrie V. Dean for A Dullard Speaking.